Welcome back to the Great Late Reviews series where middle-aged balding man tells you if a game is good or not. For the second episode we got the game that I played for the most amount of hours of them all, counted in thousands since late 2006. World of Warcraft, one of the most played titles in video games history. Today we're gonna check out its latest expansion, Dragonflight, which I played for 2 months straight, several hours a day, using 8 different characters. Is it really going in the right direction, like so many voices on the internet says? We're going to find out soon enough. This time around I'm gonna forgo orderly review structure and dip my feet into the chaos of observation by the long-time player who is coming back to the game from time to time to play for a month or 2. The biggest change that slaps you in the face right away by the kindness of a help and hints interface system is the revamped talent tree. I should say trees really, because we got 2 of them in the same place, the class one and the specialization one. On the first glance 2 seems better than 1, but I don't know about that in the long run. Some of class talents differ slightly when you change your spec, so I have a familiar feeling that it's gonna cause some problems in the future, when class 3 gonna differ more and more between specs, and because of balancing of course. But that is a problem for the future. What's in present that's way better from the previous boring mini talent tree and elusive borrowed powers. I always wanted to have a choice which skills and mechanics to use and which I could forego, and now I have a choice in many cases. Of course it is limited by the tree structure, meaning you simply need to take some talents that you don't want in order to get to the ones you really wanna. Like the old saying goes, there is no rose without the thorn. It's really nice to have multiple playstyles options for your favorite class and spec. What was not nice on the other hand, laggy and rubber bandy gameplay in first days of the launch. We didn't have any login queues on my server, and yet despite having my normal ping, game felt just wrong to play. Good thing it was fixed fast enough. Still, game was not as polished on launch as I would like. We had many bugs, like problems with looting, quest dialogue not progressing, skills and talents not always working as intended, like mining nodes spawning in the impossible positions sometimes, preventing from gathering. Only the last one was not fixed during the 2 months period I played in. There is some randomness to the nodes that wasn't there before. Maybe it's some kind of anti-botting measure when it comes to gathering. I cannot think of any other reason. It's really nothing game-breaking since the rest of the issues were smoothed out during my time with expansion. Speaking of smooth, the new interface and its customization looks better than ever. You can now move almost all interface elements in the unmodded game, but for some niche functions you will need add-ons nonetheless. Still, it's a great change for new players and those who prefer more default look of a game. There is also the star of the show in my opinion, function that I wanted for the longest time. That is, using quest items by smart right-clicking interactive quest objectives. Finally, I can forget about clicking quest log icons or throwing mission items from inventory into the special keybind on my Caspa. It's really refreshing quality of life feature, and I hope we will get only more of similar improvements as times go on. That's not where upgrades end. We got brand new gear scaling in PvP, but I have to tell you right away, even if it's better from what we had previously, it still isn't perfect. It works like this: you get a piece of PvP gear as a reward from one of many activities, which has one item level in PvE and another scaled up to its PvP value. In theory, It sounds great, but the problems arise when you put it into practice. For one, if you haven't leveled to 70 while doing PvP activities at the same time, you're gonna get penalized for that severely. When you put one step into fray of player versus player madness at max level with 0 high PvP item level pieces, you're gonna get outclassed, stamped and slapped around, even by some randoms, not to mention full primates thirsty for honor, so to speak. It was just insane in first few weeks of expansion. The imbalance immeasurable, while primate degenerates were farming graveyards full of both noobs and seasoned solo players mixed together in team that never had a chance for a fair fight. It was a dark time indeed. Fortunately, I learned my lesson and next 7 characters I have leveled in a way that I had enough of honor for full PvP starter set each time. I have reached 70. Still, Blizzard should do something to balance more fairly casual PvP game modes, like putting primate teams versus other primates and solo players versus solo players. We know they can do it cause of great success of Solo Shuffle, the new highly popular PvP arena mode, where you queue by yourself, like in many other modern online games. Took them a while, huh? I like Solo Shuffle very much. Even if I'm a low rating player these days, I still enjoy some arena games from time to time. And now I don't have to use my high and mighty social skills in order to find teammates. This time around I can continue with my questing, gold farming and whatever the heck I want, while I wait for a game in queue, instead of looking into the Arena Master NPC's dead eyes, when I lead the team of misfits and waiting for something to go wrong. Coming back to gear, why can't we have all items scaled to PvP max or near max item level instead? So we can choose what stats we want to have scaled. They can turn off or balance some of items' unique interactions and procs. PvP Trinket combo already has a set bonus to make it preferred option in instance player, confrontations and war mode alike. I cannot forget about my biggest pain in the backside. The amount of gear and item sets that I have to carry in my inventory has reached dangerous levels, mainly because of a PvP scaling on some of them. Now I have to keep at least 2 sets and some additional pieces. I thought it was bad in Shadowlands, but here it's even worse somehow. Oh man, and the amount of new currencies. Come on, I don't wanna track every vendor's favorite coin just to get some minor upgrades along the way. I long for simpler times, where you got a piece of gear, you only needed to enchant it and in some cases socket a few gems. Now you gotta track which upgradable item will be still useful and which you can dispose of. We even got 2 kinds of tier set items. One that PvP scales and one that doesn't, like what the hell Blizzard. Micromanaging items is what I hate with passion, and here I get flashes of loot PTSD from The Division 2. I don't wanna sound overly dramatic, so I'm gonna soften all of this by mentioning that Great Vault is improved mildly, meaning less grind and somewhat better rewards. Ranked PvP progression seems improved and less grindy as well, but maybe it just feels that way. I don't know. What I do know is that we have many more side activities in the open world. Some are bigger, others smaller, but it's nice to have other things beside what quest to do as a filler content. Well, it's not filler but the main course for some players. It all feels like back in Legion, where we had some minutia next to bigger content of Order Hall quest lines. Same goes for the introduction of Mythic Plus back then. And now we have a big revamp where the half of roster is composed from legacy dungeons. It's really a great use of good old content that can be relevant again. When you talk dungeons, you simply cannot forget about the raids. It's the main show of the game after all. As always, raids are top-notch. They feel both familiar and refreshing. Vault of the Incarnates seemingly is just the modern version of Molten Core, and MC was my favorite raid back in classic World of Warcraft, not so long ago. Ah, the memory of all the drama, with middle-aged balding males, acting like bunch of teenage girls, fighting for raid spots and loot privileges. I was part of that clown fiesta, and you know what? I had a blast. For all those activities kind in their hearts, devs gave us bigger quest log, but it's still not big enough for my needs when I grab every single quest along the way, with the insistence of a maniac. I am the hero and champion after all, am I not? I almost forgot. What an extortion inside of a game, you paying to play, buying expansion and sustaining the sub fee. You need to have mobile authenticator for a little bit more of backpack inventory space. That's not all, oh no. You also have to have it in order to get full access to group creation tools, and that's one step too far in my eyes. Okay, but let's drop it all for the important thing I left for last this time around. The main storyline of the expansion. Many people are happy with it. Coming back to the roots of World of Warcraft, they say. But for me, it's a little bit lacking in the epic adventure department. Sure, it's all fine and dandy, with all the different dragons and dragon-like creatures on both sides, but for the people who didn't read any Warcraft books, it's a little hard to follow. Yes, we had some bits of the dragon stories here and there throughout the game's lifespan, but it was never enough to know or even care that much for what's going on in Dragonflight. We just need to patiently wait and see how the main story will evolve before the expansion ends. Maybe, just maybe, it will be the greatest of all times, finally dethroning the tale of the Lich King that we all know and love. By the way, Arthas did nothing wrong indeed. So, is Dragonflight a good expansion to World of Warcraft? Worth coming back to? Or just another annoying amalgamation of Azeroth and modern gaming? Well, despite some minor annoyances here and there, I can recommend playing it for the players who feel the itch to come back to WoW for a little while, and to new adventurers alike to finally try it out. Game is good, just enough to enjoy it as a form of entertainment, but don't expect some epic adventure full of fireworks and water rides. Actually, there is a water ride this time around in one of the side quests, so maybe I'm wrong here. Anyways, Blizzard started to go in the right direction, and as always, gaming world gonna watch them closely along the way. That is all for today. See ya next time, folks, in another great late review.